Thaddeus Russell sits down with Joe Rogan.
We're talking about no one is born a man? You're not born a man? I'm not born a man?
I'm saying that, no, I think
we're getting silly.
Hold on here.
The professor that was claiming that there's no such thing as truth. Well, now we're going to hear him take that a step further.
None of these things are biologically determined, that there is no natural essence to anything.
Just think about those words, the claim that there is no natural essence, no natural reality.
Which means that we now are free to choose our own destiny.
You can see why this is motivating, why this is their goal, because it is liberating for so much more ideology to follow, which we'll see in a moment.
Prior to the 1960s and 70s, it was the dominant belief that if you were born a woman, you were going to be a wife and a mother.
He's bringing in examples of like the role of a woman in a household, which is going to be a cultural idea, which can evolve. But he's tying that in quickly with the sleight of hand into biological reality.
And we saw, first of all, that all these categories have changed over time, which tells us that they're just inventions. They're just inventions. They get reinvented all the time, okay? And second of all, they have served the purposes of ruling elites because they get to put people in their boxes and control them more easily.
And there's the point of how these are just tools for power, tools of the tyrants.
Those people over there, those are black, therefore they should be our slaves. So it's okay for us to have them as slaves. Those women over there, we don't want them, working for NASA. So we will have a rule against women working for NASA.
Yes, but women working for NASA has nothing to do with biology. So that's a false parallel. He's just slyly slipping in there.
So postmodernists said, none of this is biological. None of this is inevitable. You are now free to do what you want as an individual. It was a liberating moment. It has become the dominant way of thinking in academia.
What he just said there is very important. This has become the dominant way of thinking in academia. He's openly acknowledging that.
I have to say, in my view, it is the supreme achievement of academics ever.
That's it?
That's it. But it's huge, huge.
This guy really does have a bone to pick with Jordan Peterson. He did call out Jordan Peterson in that last video. He calls out Jordan Peterson in this appearance on Joe Rogan.
So, and this is my second disagreement with Jordan Peterson. He thinks that all the stuff in college campuses that's crazy is because of postmodernism.
This is a big deal. And you heard him earlier articulate that this has become the predominant way of thinking in academia. So this is important.
It has become the dominant way of thinking in academia. It is the supreme achievement of academics.
It's kind of ironic. This is actually impeding the places women have access to.
Women are allowed, very much so, into places they weren't allowed before.
A woman in a changing room with a 5-year-old daughter no longer has privacy from male genitalia, which, according to this guy, there's no such thing. He's literally going to make that argument.
The trans movement needed postmodernism to make that intervention and say, no, that's not true, right? You can actually be a woman because woman is an invention. It's a social construct.
We're talking about no one is born a man? You're not born a man? I'm not born a man?
I'm saying that, no, I think
we're getting silly.
Hold on here. I think it's the category of man becomes meaningless.
Does it?
Yeah, we just did this, man.
But it's not an invention.
Yeah, no, it is, of course.
But it's not an invention. One of them has a penis and testicles.
Yeah,
it's a male.
The thing we see, we call it a penis.
All right, so here's where we start to move into the wacky territory and actually attack the fabric of reality and biology.
What much of the trans movement now is doing, which makes me so sad, is that they're saying that I am biologically, essentially, naturally, in my core, a woman. No one is. No one is.
Because there is no such thing, according to his logic, as a biological woman.
A lot of the trans movement now is doing, there's a good word, reifying. They're making these ideas, these abstractions real again. They're making these claims that are similar to Sam Harris's claims and to old racist claims and to old sexist claims.
Right there, he's equating biology with racism and sexism.
Right? Because you've heard a lot of trans people say this, right? I was born a woman. That's what they often say.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, no one was born anything.
What? You're losing me in a huge way.
Why?
And this is where it goes off the rails.
You don't think you're born a man?
No.
What are you born? Why are you a man?
For all sorts of reasons.
For all sorts of reasons.
Yeah.
None of them being
Well, we
biological.
just decided.
None of them being the XY chromosome. None of them being you have testicles. None of them being you have a penis.
He's conflating how we use categories of language, which are tools made by human beings to be able to communicate, and he's conflating that with biological categories. That's why I think Joe Rogan is getting disconnected, because that's a leap.
Because there are certain inventions, certain social constructs that do nothing but bad things.
This is a very common tactic. Because there are some categories that do bad things, therefore we cannot have any categories. That's similar to saying because there are some bad aspects to capitalism, capitalism needs to be overturned.
That do no good, and they're only social constructs, like race and gender.
Why is it only bad to define men as men and women as women?
Because, well, if you say it's about making the biological claim.
Like saying a guy who is born a guy who gravitates towards male activities, likes females, all those things, by saying that that's a man, that this is a born man, and you're saying no one is.
So if you're saying if those characteristics are naturally determined, then all of us guys who don't do those things are unnatural.
I think that's a stretch, because there's going to be occurring themes in masculinity, and just because you don't check all those boxes to claim, well, then that means that I'm unnatural, so that's unfair for you to even have those boxes.
Which things are those?
All the things
to women,
whatever it is that you characterize as being male, right?
But that's so common with males.
What is?
Being attracted to women,
really?
engaging in sex with women.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yes, it's more common that men are attracted exclusively to women than being attracted to men.
Have you heard of gay people?
That's the same argument, because there's the exception to the rule that suddenly, according to his logic, disproves the rule.
Yes, it's a small percentage of the population of men. Is it 1%? Is it 10%?
Yeah,
1 out of 10?
I mean, it's certainly a lot of people, isn't it?
Well, it's a lot of people when you think about the 350 million people we have living in America, sure.
So here he tries to flip it on Joe and claim that a homosexual man, a gay man, is not a biological man.
Still talking about a man who's having a sexual exchange with another man. Like, you can be sexually attracted to another man. It doesn't mean that you're both not men.
So do you think homosexual men are men?
Sure.
Why?
Because they're male. They have a penis. They have XY chromosomes. They can get a woman pregnant if they wanted to.
Okay,
they can donate their sperm to their lesbian pals, and they can all have babies together.
So then you just eliminated one of the characteristics that you previously said was male.
No.
Well, J.K. Rowling pointed this out. Without biology, there's no such thing as without sex, without the concept of biological sex, there's no such thing as same-sex attraction. There's no such thing as being gay.
This is not like complicated stuff. They're still men.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where to go from here. I mean,
And this is usually what happens when conversing with someone like this. You'll get to a point where they don't know where to go from there.
I think I've made the argument. It's funny because I thought you were totally with me for like an hour and a half, and now it's like I feel like you're not there.
And it's always on the other person. They're not there. It's not that your logic is lacking. It's the other person can't keep up with your brilliance.
And I don't
Definitely
know what
not
to
there with
say.
that. I think there's a giant spectrum of people, but to say that a guy isn't born a man or a woman isn't born a woman, I think is disingenuous.
Then he brings it back to the real heart of why this is so important. Because this is an attack on biology, the idea of biological reality.
Just saying that claims, and I want to end it here, claims about these essential characteristics that it's biologically determined, right? Are the things that reinforce getting in the way. Laws, policies, cultures, ideas, norms that get in the way of people doing what they want to do with their own lives.
It's kind of ironic because the entire argument people such as J.K. Rowling are standing for is that this is actually impeding the places women have access to.